This next session is on bridging the gap between experimental demands and experimental facilities during the horizon 2025 frame. I would like to ask Stefan Bouckaert and Annika Sällström to moderate the session.
So good morning everyone from my part. I won't go into the timing, but I'm sure we can make it up during the session somehow. So during the session we will welcome a number of speakers, and just to make sure that everybody knows why we invite these people, let's just have a very brief presentation on the goals of this session. Actually everything I will say has been probably already said by Michael, so I can be very short. But let me just repeat. So if we look at FIRE today, and then I look at FIRE from a FIRE person myself. I am a lot of IMANs, we are creating testbeds, we are maintaining testbeds, and we can currently see that most of the facilities are still developed and maintained by people from academia or from research institutes. Of course, there's another side, and that's also been mentioned before, the experimenters. Who is really using our infrastructures? And actually, that's the most important thing. If you are building infrastructures and nobody is using them, well, the infrastructures are really useless. And so far, if you look at how our infrastructures are used, we see that a lot of people from academia use it today. There are also some people of industry using it, but to be honest, it's a lot less than people from academia and industry. And we often see that people are interested, but they don't really take the step to do the experimentation themselves. They ask us, can you help us to find a solution to this or that? So that's the situation today. What we try to find out is, if this is FIRE today, can we move to a different future? Are there other people that can benefit from what we do? And if it's like that, how do we need to change? How do we need to adapt ourselves to reach that? So can we, for example, support SME and industry better than we do today? Can we see a link with the FIPPP, for example? Can we see a link with ICT labs? And of course, are there any other participants in this room today that say, okay, hey, these FIRE facilities are really interesting for me. It could be interesting for me to use this. It's also, of course, always important to see the view of the EC. EC is a very important player in this ecosystem, as of course they are pushing the direction in which we can have research projects in which we can get certain things funded. So it's also very interesting to see their opinion in this. But for the rest, for this session, it's really all about the experiment. What we want to do is we want to listen to different people, to hear their opinions on how they are running experimentation in the field of future internet today. So not necessarily on FIRE, we just want to see how are they doing stuff today. Would they like to see experimentation in a different way? Would they like to see us evolving in a different direction? And that's, of course, important information for us to see where should we move in the quadrant that we saw before. And I would like to welcome several people to the front now and to take place in these seats. And everybody who's speaking here today or who is part of the panel actually has lots of different hats. So people who work in industry but are also involved in FIRE projects, for example. That's why on this slide we post the role of their hat today. So we would like to ask the people to think mostly out of the role that they have here on this slide. So for industry we have Josep from Atos Research and Innovation. He's also very much involved in FIRE, but today he will be mainly talking from this industry perspective. Then for SMEs we have Philippe Vanrie, good morning, who is the CEO of EBN. So he will have the voice of the SMEs today in this discussion. Of course, the participants will introduce themselves in a minute, so they will explain everything about who they are. Then for smart cities we have Gilles, welcome as well. So he's from Thales, but today we'll be mainly representing smart cities. And then of course we cannot forget ourselves, so we also ask some people from the FIRE community to be here today, and this is Philippe who is there. And so he has his FIRE hat on today. And also Dimitri, Papadimitriou, if it's here already. If not, then at least we have one person. Ah, yeah, Dimitri. Hi, Dimitri, good morning. So a final seat is reserved for Mr. Viorel from the European Commission. So he is not a traditional experimenter group per se, so I don't think the European Commission will start doing experiments, although they are very welcome to do so if they like this. But still, we thought it was interesting to get a view from the EC. And as well, we would like to ask Viorel in the end to make a summary of the session and put in some of their ideas on this. Okay, this is how the session will take place, and this is my final slide. First, we will ask the panelists to introduce themselves in about 5 minutes. They can use slides if they want, they don't have to. And as I said before, we will really asking them to share how they are running experiments right now, if it's important or not. Do they do it themselves? Do they already work with FIRE? Do they collaborate with other players to do this? So it's interesting to see their situation today. Next, we will turn into our future modes. So then we will think about how can we evolve, what would be ideal for them in terms of experimentation. And then finally, we will ask Mr. Peca to do his closing words in the end. We rather have this as a closing word than as a starting word, because we really think it's important to listen to the opinions rather than to jump to conclusions at this point. So that's it for now. We can start the panel, isn't it, Annika? Yeah. So, Josep, when you're ready to share your presentation. It's on the USB stick.
No, it's in the file.
Yeah.
Good morning, everybody. Hi. When I received the instructions for the panel, they said you need to introduce yourself, your organization, why your hat, your role in around FIRE. I said, oh, Jesus, I have to introduce Atos, I have to introduce what I do in FIRE. So I'm going to do it like in a tweet, okay, in just 3 seconds. Atos, multinational service IT company in many markets, you know, many employees, big stuff done. My role mainly during last years has been BonFIRE. If you are in the FIRE forum, hopefully you are familiar with BonFIRE. I'm not going to explain. It's a multi-cloud facility that was is in production for many years now, a couple of years already in production, in which you can do research experimentation on top. You can have cloud capacity, you have the network interconnections, control all over the network, and there are several scenarios very, very, very powerful. So I can take advantage of these 30 seconds just to mention that some months ago we said we are open, because before we had experiments that were coming through open calls. So some months ago we said we are open and we're accepting experiments without giving them funding, but offering them the capacity and also the support. We have already received about has been 17 submissions accepted, and we are also in talk with some projects from other units. It's relevant to mention some steps, obvious collaboration with Peca, but other from other units. I mean, Radical is about smart cities, and they're asking us to use the infrastructure to launch and to have their platform. Feedback from Future Internet is another case that while they are waiting Sci-Fi to put because it's the natural path where they will end up with the services, they want to test some aspects on the cloud in the multi-cloud environment, and the Future Internet PPP has approached us to launch some tests on the facility. Publicity. But I need to say something else that is relevant for this panel. That yes, the project is finishing by the end of this year, but the facility will still be up and running for another additional year, 2014. Planners have been working hard on sustainability. I can elaborate more on that with an exploitation agreement to keep part of the facility up and running under certain conditions, of course. We have analyzed the cost of this, and we have launched, and we're going to launch this kind of foundation in which some planners are continuing with this work beyond the duration of a project. And this is really, really important for the FIRE community. I think is an example. And we keep the open access offering. It's a very complete offering and so on. I don't want to extend on that. But this is there, open and free for access for experimentation. So I think it's a good milestone. So Yesterday, we had a discussion in Future Networks about what is the value of trying to position FIRE on this. And I try to highlight that we all agree that FIRE, the facilities, the research or experimentation, offer you two unique things that other infrastructures or facilities cannot offer. One is the high level of control that you have over any type of resource that you want to execute. I mean, you want to do your tests, your experiments, and you can ask for a certain number of virtual machines, cloud capacity, where to deploy this, type of sensors, or you are working with software-defined networks, you can inject your software, your protocols there, wireless equipment. So there's a variety of things. But the good point is that you have full control about the resources. This is something that in normal practices, in business practices, for instance, a cloud provider will never give you. It's a box. You can, public cloud provider give you this, but doesn't allow you to have this control of the resources. And the second point is that it's even better, that you can see what is happening. So you have an all infrastructures, all facilities have done a great work on monitoring is one of the pillars in order to extract all the metrics, all the information that is necessary at level of infrastructure, virtualized, at application level is necessary. So these two, let's keep this for the moment as the two key pillars. And differentiator, let's say the value proposition or differentiator of FIRE offering with approach when you do want to do research or experimentation. The last point is important because the facilities needs to be in production for others to use. So, okay. Now thinking about the panel, more and more the panel, going deeper. When I think on this, and I think on FIRE, I say there are some drivers or some benefits associated to FIRE that are quite obvious. I mean, you can come validate ideas, prototypes, concepts. You can do innovation on top of it. I think this is the great value of FIRE, more than reduce cost on your testing. I think that to enable new things or cross-cutting issues among several facilities has a high value of digitization than water, for example. Okay? You can launch early trials. You can accelerate the adoption of certain technologies through the testing on top of FIRE. So, and for me, it's very, very important. One point that is you receive support from experts how to and are accompanying you when you are doing your experiment. And this is something that you cannot imagine how SMEs or organizations that cannot afford to have, it's not possible to be an expert on Internet of Things, networks, configure wireless, plus have your protocol, ask how to deal with the cloud, and control. It's simply not possible, and because you are an expert on multimedia. So when the knowledge that is behind the facility and supporting and accompanying the experimenter has extreme value that needs to be highlighted and explored. However, it's not everything is a nice story. I mean, there are a lot of barriers that I envisage, and we can talk when you approach FIRE facilities. One is the robustness and the maturity of the technology, and for the industry viewpoint, that's important because sometimes we need to differentiate what is an experimentation or what is an experiment or test, and what is a trial or what is a demo. So the level of maturity in the technology is different. And when you approach a facility and you need to have some technical skills that go beyond any possibility to really understand what is going on, the learning curve of the entry, it's an entry barrier if you wish, is too high. So, and this is for one facility, and just to close, because it's, if you want to go for a federated scenario, that is one of we are pushing for the federation of the facilities, also to understand all this stuff about SFA, OMF, and so on, is extremely difficult. Industry will also always have complaints or concerns about the security level of the facilities, always. We can discuss this in the panel. But, and there's something that can be done and something that can't. Okay? Legal liability between the providers of the facility and the experimenters is something unsought, not properly touched in the project. It has been mentioned before by Michael, quality of service. If someone is approaching the industry, is used to have some quality of service. I mean, if I'm willing to pay something, at least tell me that it's best effort. And best effort in this best effort. But tell me something. This is something the offering associated to this is something clear. And just to finalize, usability. It's something that it's never enough that the facilities. It seems that everybody needs to be an expert and have a group of PhD students in order to deal with all this, or to operate, that is highly cost, or to play. So all the aspects related to the front-end usability is something that really is necessary. Is in the experience, I think is key for the success of the facilities in the future.
Thank you. So can we have a
Okay, good morning. I'm not involved in any FIRE project. I must confess, forgive me, Per, I didn't even know it was existing. Though I'm since 20 years active in innovation policies in Europe. I'm probably the best internet dummy in this room, sorry about that. Maybe that's why you invited me. But I must confess, I had a look in the last couple of days on the FIRE docs and the web, and I was fascinated. And I was fascinated maybe because I don't understand everything, but I was just fascinated because I thought, yes, it seems it might have an impact on business downstream applications. Because now I tell you who I am. I'm the director of a network called EBN, which gather 250 business and innovation centers, incubators, accelerators across Europe. There are two here, Viorel and Martrat is one of them. And our unique perspective, our unique interest is to create appropriate conditions to help innovators, entrepreneurs to create startups and let them grow. And of course, embarking ICT, embarking innovation models, embarking prospective positioning vis-à-vis of well, the future. And indeed, the Internet of the future is part of their the needed elements that they need to integrate in their business model, in their technology model, in their way of thinking. That's I was fundamentally in disagreement with one statement made before when somebody said, you know, SMEs, they are very standalone people, they don't talk to others, they never collaborate. While academics, everything is open, they discuss with others, they share everything, they have such an open collaborative culture since centuries. I'm not sure I fully agree on this. I have met in both circles completely opposite genetic behaviors. And I think it's important to realize that communities of users, communities of SMEs, communities of startups, communities of photogazelles are working very strongly together. And indeed, public policies since 15 years have encouraged those gathering and collaboration to take place. It's not easy, but there are places, there are physical places. And our centers are one of these. There are many others where collaboration amongst small businesses is a reality. And I think maybe in the exit strategy of those kind of FIRE projects, you have to think about that, embarking in the dissemination models, those physical / virtual places where small companies, small innovators are meeting, are talking, are exchanging, are fighting, are having fun together, are developing collaborative projects, well, innovation collaborative projects, but sometimes it exists. And also, I was also thinking, well, what are the needs? I really understand what you're trying to do, and I think the scenario with the 4 dissemination scenario was was making sense. I like it very much, and maybe indeed I feel at home in the resource sharing collaboration model, in the social innovation ecosystem. Also, you know, social innovation is something. It's not only about altruism and philanthropy and solidarity. It's especially in the web entrepreneurs environment. This is something that can really be an accelerator of things and of businesses. But I was thinking, are you aware, gentlemen, you, the top seats of the Internet of the future, that the needs of the companies you are talking about in the dissemination are, and I'm not talking here about the new class of web entrepreneurs who are basically developing solutions on the supply side, but are you interested by the rest of the universe, of the huge the center of the ecosystem, which are consisting of, I'm not an SME syndicate, okay? I'm not interested by saying, hey, you Commission, you have to devise policies for the, how many, 20 million SMEs on the planet? Okay, stupid. We are just saying that there is a category of the universe that are called innovative firms, that are embarking technologies, IPs, that might not be the few usual suspects you are mentioning as iconic success stories in the Internet of Things or in the cloud computing, but that might be really the users, the consumers of the applications that will go out of your funnels. And yes, their basic needs are, and if I make a zoom on IT, on Internet, basically they might not really be in adequate touch with what you think, what you do, what you develop, what you search, what you test. And basically, if I take myself in the skin of one of the manager of one of the thousands of companies we are mentoring in this field, I would say, okay, first preoccupation is the security. First preoccupation is, well, how do I manage interoperability? How can I be quicker, broader, safer, more wireless, more mobile? How can I organize my company in taking profit of all those new areas, new competencies, new skills in the e-administration, in the e-commerce, in my 3D capacity? How can I increase my 3D capacity, my capacity to also develop devices, either for marketing or for business modeling, for development of virtual reality, of numeric simulation, mediatization, etc., etc. That's maybe what I'm anxious about. I'm also looking for guidance. I'm being visited by IBM, by everybody who wants to sell me a cloud solution, and I'm lost, really. I'm lost because I think, security, infrastructure. I need explanation. I need people like you to guide me on vis-a-vis of the knowledge intensive service provider on those new future internet technology. I also need to see you close to me. Not a virtual, not too much virtual. I need physical proximity. I need that you are localized somewhere, and that you show your interest for users. And the word, the magical mystery word, has been pronounced several times. To kind of live in that approach, and I think that's maybe what you have to look for. Last but not least, yes, maybe I'm looking for easy shared test facilities. Okay, in other field, is there a rapid prototyping platform to which I can access in my area of activity? Is there a software intelligence group of? Yes, I don't want to talk with Oracle now. We have made some experience, by the way. There's two experiences. One very successful, one a big failure. One was with Dassault Systems. We have a lot of companies active in the manufacturing, and we were fascinated by the division of Atos systems on virtual reality, on 3D software, etc. And we said, okay, let's convince Atos systems to plug a few platforms, a few free platforms in our incubators for companies who are in mechatronics, who are in it was a trap. It was a trap. It didn't work really. Now maybe with the latest tools of DS, it's much more interesting. But the Katia approach was not a success. We both had a second experience here, by the way, with a company who used to be in that building, who used to be called Thales, but maybe there was Thales. Was an initiative between Thales and Oracle 4 or 5 years ago on trying to help SMEs active in GOLBS on understanding what is the best solution in terms of software, in terms of security, in terms of application. It was quite interesting, quite successful. It was a virtual platform, but with a few really hands-on, pragmatical software application specialists from those two houses that were in virtual and physical touch with a few developers of GOLBS applications. Okay, you might say, okay, GOLBS application, this is now a commodity, this is not really innovation. I'm not sure. So yes, that's it. That's it. Yes. I don't know. Maybe for the next round of debate, okay, we are interested by the test bed facility.
Our next speaker, Adele.
Okay, good morning everybody. I'm Gilles Betis and I'm from EIT at City Labs. Formerly I was, I'm always in fact, but I was involved in Thales in lot of activities from system architecture, system engineering. I worked a lot on the impact of paradigm shift from transport to mobility and in the smart city area. So I started to work with EIT City Labs in September this year, taking the responsibility of urban life and mobility action line. So I will try to introduce you very quickly this activity and what is EIT City Labs, unless most of you should know it. The basic idea is to speed up the transformation of ID and technology into future business. We have the goal and really the objective to develop entrepreneurship in mind of future students, in the mind of all the actors and stakeholders that are now involved in development, research, and so on. There is really a gap that we have to go and to jump over in this area. And because this future business development about ICT is not only the fact of big companies, industries, and so on, there is really huge work to be done with SME, with existing SME, and also with a future SME. The SMEs that doesn't exist yet, but will exist in a few years. So how to make them emerging, or how to provide them the good environment, the good platform to emerge and to find the suitable business idea for tomorrow. We develop our action on 3 pillars, which are education, research, and business. It's very simple. We have to turn on students in entrepreneurs. We have to put laboratories on market, and we have finally to transform ideas in products. So very simple, in fact. But maybe that is quite original in this approach. Is that we try to do all the 3 aspects both at the same time, and to have an integrated and comprehensive approach. EIT City Lab is quite young, but EIT was founded in 2008 And just the year after, were 3 knowledge and innovation community created, and one of those is EIT ICT Labs. And EIT ICT Labs rely on today 6 collocation centers. You have one in Paris, Eindhoven, Berlin, Trento, Stockholm, Helsinki. Next year will be a 7th one in London, and some associated partner. So London, which will be a full node next year, but also Budapest and Madrid. So in each of these collocations, don't worry, probably this list is not up to date because it is evolving, not every day, but at least once or twice a year. In each of the collocation, with a very local anchorage in this global European ecosystem, you have some partners, some companies, some laboratories, some universities that are partner of all of these nodes, and that form locally a comprehensive ecosystem, and that form globally a network of skills, of competencies, skills of and projects, and all of the dynamic in order to share ideas, to share products, to share future business, and to try to disseminate from local to global. We have today 10 action lines defined, which are even purely academic and dedicated to education, like the doctoral school and the master school. You have some other one with more technical focus. Originally, the action lines were more likely technical. And you have some action lines that are more systemic, that have a more holistic approach, like health and well-being, for example, like urban life and mobility, that I'm managing today. What you can see is that those action lines are not closed. In fact, you cannot see it on the slide, but I tell you, it is not closed. But there are some relationship between them, because you can imagine that when we discuss of urban life and mobility, we have to discuss about future cloud, we have to discuss about networking solution, we have to discuss about privacy, security, and trust. And so it's more, the good drawing should be a 3-dimension matrix between technology, future use, and education and innovative SME creation. What is also one original point about the EIT ICT Labs investment model is that we do not create projects by ourselves. We are just relying on existing projects, existing dynamics. This is what we call the career catalyst paradigm, which is that as soon as there is, let's say, a community with a project which has developed during the past year some project with European funds, with national funds, with private research and development firms, and so on. The goal of EIT ICT Labs is to tell them, oh guy, how can we help you to go even faster, to go further, to go larger, and to go mainly from your ideas and to foster on business aspect. This is the goal, and this is why with some catalysts that are minority, that is a minor part, sorry, when compared to the carrier, we just try to push the little things that will make things real in the near future. So what about experimentation? During this story from 2010 and up to now and next year, we are now in a phase where we have launched a lot of activities. We can make some investment in education, investment in educational structure, investment in breakthrough technologies, investment on creating a network of skills, a network of business ideas. And we have built also a breeding ground of innovative actors by coaching some startups, by helping them to go to funds, by providing them with some incubation when needed, and so on. We have a dream, which is in the next 2015 and 16 coming years to go a step further. And in terms of experimentation, now we have some projects on an annual basis associated with some test beds and so on, but it's mainly technology development. The experimentation is the final phase, which is generally modest. And on my point of view, I can tell that because I'm quite new in the organization, on my point of view, maybe we do not get all the knowledge we could on this experiment. So what we think is that when you discuss with people in the cities, in the region, you rapidly understand that it is not a matter of technology, that's a matter of people. That's a matter of daily life. And that's why we must realize that maybe we don't have initially all the way to manage that at the beginning. For example, just make a little survey. Does anybody here have sociology degree, or they have? Yeah, welcome. Welcome. So that's a minority of people, and it is why we have to complete our action in two directions. First, to have the region, the territories, not as a recipe of what we are doing, but that at the origin of the project. We have to switch the things around. What I would like to have is to have some activity leaders in the future that are not an industry or a university, but that is a town, a region, which is a group of stakeholders, territory stakeholders, and to have those people coming then with their needs, starting a new cooperation with them. And this is the case, you know, because you have a lot of territories developing by themselves today a very interesting dynamic in development. So we have some very good career, if I take the ICT Labs wording. And what do they say? They say, okay, technology, we have a lot of technology now, and now what we need is to scale it up. We need to scale it up at the scale of the territory. We need to increase dramatically the number of people involved in this experiment. And on our side, we see exactly the same thing. Because we are speaking of business, future business, we cannot speak definitively of future business if we do not speak of calibration of this future business. And this calibration can be done only if you have a minimum critical mass of users that will be involved in this technology. This is a new way probably to see those projects, and this is also something that will help to get and not to lose in mind the fact that we have to really work on the good paradigm shift and not forget those societal change, those societal shift, not forget it in face of technological development.
Thank you for your view. And already your view on the future, so you can now move on. Yeah, whoever wants to go first.
Okay, good morning. So I'm happy to present our experiment. So I have 6 slides, so I'll try to stick to 5 minutes. So first, who I am. So after 17 years in Orange Lab validation research, 5 years also project officer in the mid-90s on, let's say, validation and also bringing confidence to technology, was a program called CTS, Support Testing Service. Also 9 years in ETSI, having developed the interoperability service. I have created 3 years ago an SME, in particular in this activity of how to make confidence of the technology, providing support, interoperability, validation, and we always believe that SPHIRE can be also very good for even helping to bring the confidence, also organizing interoperability activities by non-certification. We also explore this way several times. But also in my file, this is also something we suggested. We see the case, for instance, of Ophelia, that is what they do in OpenFlow is helping now to create some kind of test and certification for OpenFlow and even toward SDN. So I see also an important, let's say, potential also bringing, because in order to get this commercial activities, so using FIRE also to have more of that. So I will take my hat now as the deputy manager of ERIT. So we try to present this nice experiment and very broad potential in using the sound, and I think it's quite amazing what we can do with sound, so we'll present you to that. So ERIT is experimenting acoustic in real environments using innovative testbed, and also we see that we call it the sound for smart environment. We had also in a session in FIA last time in Dublin, and we have quite a lot of interest on that. So basically this experiment is also based on 4, let's say, pillars. First, the concept of what we want to do in this experiment is to create high social value applications. So at the end is application for sure, and in using the distributed acoustic. And for that we need to do research, and we're quite happy. We have 7 partners, and we are working with Fraunhofer, which is quite amazing and has a lot of, let's say, European know and expertise. So we have to explore this high potential in Europe. So we are using this research to develop high social value application. I'll come to a moment what are the applications. But we are not also forgetting that it's very important to involve the user. So we're happy also to have Annika with us from CDT, and because it's very important to see how the user perceives this issue, and also using audio, all the user's feedback is extremely important. We have also a very important task where I'm leading also in this project on qualifying how the test beds are ready for audio, and this is quite important due to this complexity of the test bed. In this picture you see in a glance the case. We are working with two FIRE test beds, the smart Santander, so we have quite serious cases in the smart city, and also we are working with OpNet for the intelligent building, so we're quite happy to work with these two. And in this case, you see here, for instance, 2 examples of what we can do. We can, for instance, in the city of Santander, we can, for instance, detect some event. In that case, we will detect a police car or ambulance, and working together. So we are mixing the IoT last year deployment with acoustic units. So we see. Mixing that, we can also then ease, for instance, the way for the ambulance, so we can detect a lot. And we have also now already started the experiment in traffic monitoring using only audio, and through the audio we can also detect also what are the traffic, and even we can compare with the sensor on pollution, and also we have a lot of, let's say, potential also working on environments. In the building, working with OnNet, we have also several cases. We can also have energy efficient buildings, so touching the energy. We have also security. We can see whether people are also asking for help and also phoning, and we have a lot of also a very interesting case. So when we have to talk about what liaison we have with this project, we have a lot. We are working definitively in smart cities, so we went last week to Eurocities and we present on that. So smart city is very high potential for the application, but also for the noise map, because the city has the obligation also to have the noise map. We have also through OpNet, thanks to OpNet, We have also a lot of interaction with intelligent buildings, that is very important. We are also very linked with IoT, because we have also, most of the partners have also a strong involvement in IoT, including myself, so we are also working with the potential of IoT. We are also working with the PPP, because also some partners, also through Outsmart and through other projects, and including myself, we are in PPP, so we are also working on that. We are working also on the concept of open platform and virtualization, because the sound also need to be virtualized, and obviously we have a lot of, let's say, vertical case, energy, air transport, so it's quite very exciting and potential, high potential of result from this. Just a case quickly on Santander, because maybe you already see this picture, but how we run the experiment in the Santander, we go to the city. On the left-hand side, you see exactly the acoustic processing unit we are deploying, and for instance, what one person is deploying, so we have thousands of IoT, and we have few more acoustic intelligence, and bringing these thousands of IoT plus few acoustic processing unit, we can already provide the high value. What are the cases? I already mentioned them. We have sound mapping, we have also traffic accident, we have a case, for instance, from other partners that in tunnels, for instance, they can maybe see whether there are some accidents only by sound. You have ambient assistant living, we have more security, energy efficiency. We are also cooperating with other projects like sound for energy efficient buildings, so there are a lot of, and traffic, we have a case. To come to a real case, we see that it's a fresh video, maybe it's not perfect, but we have recorded, we have now put an acoustic processing unit working with the IPO in the Smart Santander City. On the right-hand side, you see the traffic detection. The curve is to detect whether we are high traffic or low traffic. It's very, we speed up the video, and then we can really detect the sound, so we have a lot of potential now to exploit from that. So this is my last slide. So I have different hats where we are also bringing some expertise in that. So in FIRE, I'm also managing the new EU-China FIRE, which called ISHAO. So, and also I was involved in the Martrat project. In IoT, I'm coordinating the interoperability activity chain, so very strong, and also I'm now in the new support action called Smart Action. In PPP, I'm leading the very important work package in the use case on providing confidence to generic enablers, and that is quite important. So we see also the link between PPP and what FIRE can do. And I'm also in a new project on ITS and mobility, on personal mobility for smart cities. So from that, I see that a lot of potential between FIRE and other communities that I can explain in the second part of the panel. Thank you.
So this will be the last presentation in front. In the interest of gaining a bit of time, I will only take the floor at the end.
Here we go. So good morning, everyone. So I come from one of this called 5 projects called EULER. Actually, we started like in 2009, and the project can people hear this? The project aims actually at investigating new routing paradigms, not just for what you might be calling traffic routing in the internet, but also information routing systems, like you have been probably hearing about content distribution systems. And well, basically the key challenges of the project were how to run large-scale experiments and measure them on experimental facilities like the ones we are dealing with at Deltas. So the important picture is actually here, because we are crossing into our community of project, actually people coming from different horizons. They come from a theoretical background in order to determine which algorithm would be best fitting our needs, but also we have people coming from the simulation community in order to have certain good results in understanding how the models would work, and then we have also people experts in emulation, because we want to go a step further and see how executable and how verifiable might be certain of those results on certain of our routers. Probably there's a lot of information on that chart, but remember something fundamental. Crossing the boundary between emulation experiments towards real systems, you are actually losing in terms of the elements that you can control actually onto your experiments, while if you go in more controlled environments, you will lose what we call the experimental conditions, the level of realism of our experimental conditions. What is all important, and that's the message that I want to pass, is that the more realistic you come, the more costly your experiment becomes. In particular, if you want to achieve the same level of quality of results out of your experiments. And that's a fact. That's measurable. Here it's a trend, but we have observed this in all the experiments we have tried, or in all the experiments we have been doing in our project. Okay, I will be very brief. Let's not, I would say, turn around the point. There are, in my point of view, three things that we might aim at targeting in FIRE. Within the ambition, in doing right, in trying to do, in trying to achieve the best way we can on topics we know how to achieve them, and not trying to target things for which we will have no experience so far. So it's all about, yes, what would be the necessary conditions to meet in order to have those facilities, in our point of view, usable within Horizon 2020. The first of all is, how do we share measure methods, tools and data, and also the analysis coming around this data. What do we do with the data we generate? The need for generating repeatable, reproducible, reliable and verifiable results is proven. So there is a key element in order to have results which are produced and not just throw a piece of code. It works or not, we don't know why, where, how. So we need to have this type of information in order to validate what we experiment. That's an important thing. If you just go there for the fact of being, to have your piece of code as part of FIRE, there is no gain of it. The third point is scalability. We have to understand that, and we were confronted to this in EULER, we need to enable execution of experiments which are representative of the environment where we aim at deploying them. If you aim at deploying a new piece of code but you trial them on 10 nodes, while actually the environment has millions of billions of nodes, there is no need actually to do that experiment. It's not going to be representative. What we have been observing is we target at the beginning 10,000, 100,000 nodes, but actually it shows that it's extremely difficult to achieve this on FIRE experimental facilities today, and we have to deploy new techniques, combining emulation, simulation, and sometimes certain more complex hybrid techniques in order to reach that scale. So we can't actually do this type of experiments as of today in FIRE, and I think it's a target to have, at least quantitatively. The last one is about heterogeneity for experimental settings. I need to combine sometimes a piece of software for measure and a piece of hardware for another type of measure. How do I bring them together in the same environment? I have more and more problems in terms of I want to test dynamic multi-homing, but I have sometimes environments which are supporting wireless and wireline environment, and I need to test them both on both ends because the TCP connection running end-to-end is going to be affected by both ends. I want to have experiments when I want to inject synthetic traffic, generated traffic, but also live traffic from GL or from other environments. You know, because I want sometimes to have a mix in own generated traffic and external traffic. I want sometimes, and this is something that we have been observing, is the possibility for testing microscale systems and macroscale systems. Is that how a microscale system behaves in a macroscale environment? This has been the case, for instance, once we wanted to study what is the influence on a global routing system on the ad hoc networks, which has to have to communicate with different servers across the internet. And finally, we have to be realistic. Some of these combinations are extremely difficult to achieve. I'll give one example here. Combined flexibility and tight control is extremely difficult to have because putting control means you put more probes, more measurement points. You have known procedures, you have known reference models, and you want to have flexibility. So flexibility are changing and replacing, and it's extremely difficult to achieve. So we have to be aware of this. That concludes my talk. I just want to point here that, and probably the best way for me to speak about the other FIRE project is they have been documenting
measurements methodology and tools in this book here. It's openly and publicly available. It has been edited by the EULER project, so please take a look at it and let me know if you have any feedback. Thanks for your attention.
So thank you all that has given your experience from running experiments and also being part of experimentation. And what we heard here, for example, from Atos about the positive of being partner of BonFIRE and the openness and that perspective coming from industry. And from the incubators, the experience you have on the collaborative culture from startups and how that can really be a potential to build from when we think the future of FIRE. And also from the IT and the smart cities of the perspective of systemic experimentation and how experimentation can actually stimulate ICT talents and spin-offs and to really create things that comes to the market. And then we heard Philippe from ERIT about really hardcore experimentation with hardware but also with software, with services and with users in a real environment that is provided here by some of the facilities that exist. And what can that mean for the future if we think of that, if we scale? And then from EULER and maybe the more of the researcher, technical research-oriented perspective on the issue when you are doing hardcore stuff in technical research, what do you do then really need and how do you see at this experimentation? So moving from these presentations now, I would like to ask these panelists to give just 1 minute of your dreams. What would be the dream scenario of the future if you foreseen the experimentation view? What could be then? And I think some of you might have said something of it, but if you could highlight especially one dream you would have. Who wants to start?
1 dream. Well, maybe yes. Well, it is, if you're saying a dream, it is easier to say, okay, it's an easy way of accessing the experimentation. You can put it all there. But we need to face certain level of reality in terms of, I think, limitations on what we have in front of us in terms of budget. Because for me, FIRE has the biggest challenge is that it's dealing with so many different technologies and areas of expertise. I started to do a list, and it's so heterogeneous and so rich. If you want, you can see it like this. It's so rich. You can deal with radio access, software-defined networks, IoT, sensors, actuators. You can deal with aspects related to optics networks, so switching to cognitive radio, cloud computing. There's a variety of things that makes this unique, but also I see high risk of I mean, sooner or later, I don't know what is the dream, but it is going to be necessary to do a kind of strong decisions and a natural selection. Because I'm afraid that we cannot afford, in order to get that dream of something useful for users, easy to access, and so on, we need to make decisions saying our target is in that direction, and there will be other things that we cannot cover. And that's the point, and that's the hard point. Because what is the dream is we know what we want. A platform easy to access, that is possible, I don't know, for free, there is a cost model behind this, that we understand and others can access and so on. But for me, is what Michael was saying, directions. One is, okay, there are several scenarios. We can make decisions to make the direction where we want to go. I don't know if it is clear enough what I'm saying.
Thank you. Dream free.
Okay, two comments maybe. It's not only true for your sector, but it might be particularly important for your sector. And you mentioned the transversability, the pervasivity of all those things. Is maybe that your test
that platforms, your experimentation platforms, are located in unexpected places. Not with usual suspects, not with necessarily governmental institutes located in capitals or in regional capitals, or located in research institutes amongst the most prestigious. That's not the question, but maybe the fragmentation of this ecosystem might require that the localization policy goes to unexpected places, where maybe the critical mass is not met, but for sure where you break the logical framework in the traditional way you position, you localize the testing facilities. That's the first thing. The second dream is that policymakers and big players, again referring to the fragmentation, who can do something about the complexity of ecosystems. No one can really change the complexity of ecosystems, and ecosystems, both biological ecosystems and economic ecosystems, are not getting simpler. They are, on the contrary, getting more complicated. And I think it's very noble for policymakers to try to simplify, optimize ecosystems by creating centralized systems. And I think my dream is that, together with the dream of policymakers, to have, okay, centralized or semi-centralized operation, people accept that there is no route for centralization of initiatives. There is only a route in dispersing the different bits and pieces of interest for the users in a fragmented way. Maybe, yes, indeed, we have to measure and to control what is the efficiency of those policy public actions, but I'm sure that it's not by centralizing things that you improve the efficiency.
Thank you.
When we say a dream, it is more oriented toward the future, of course, but it could be good to have a quick look to the past when we want to write the future. When you look in the past, not going back to the fire invention, we are discussing on fire, but I will take, for example, another point, which is when you look at your satellite TV at home. Do you think that, do you say to your children that you are looking at the result of space technology, communication technology, semiconductors, and so on? No, you're just looking at the TV, and you don't care about what was the evolution of all these technological aspects before you look at the TV. My dream will be quite similar to live in a world when all the technology that we are talking about today, and even for the people, even for the public, we are telling them you will see Internet of Things, you will see all these words about what we do, but that's the result that we are looking for is you just use data that is available here. You don't think about how this data is here. What are the technology about collecting it? What are the technology about processing it with big data and so on? This is just today's buzzwords. But tomorrow you will just have to use it. So that's the dream, that to live in a world where we will forget all this underlying technology, just to develop some new usage. That's all.
I have maybe one dream for fire, and maybe a second one, which is consequent of the first. My dream is to live more on the kind of businesses that in how to fight can stimulate more innovation and innovation, more job on more businesses. We can still find development tools for bringing the research to market, and that is quite important. I see I've been involved in many, let's say, internal core. I see that, for instance, when we have fund for 2 experiments, we see 50 proposals, out of 50, maybe at least 30 are quite excellent. And I think we have a gold mine of ideas, and maybe not. I see also there's still 5 things isolated. I'm in the middle of, for instance, of French ecosystem, a lot of SMEs in the French cluster in South France. Nobody heard about it. I see other activity. I see also maybe some good ideas that came from the BT phase 3, for instance, where they also have projects to try to make link between the project and the financial community. Maybe some good idea from experiment can turn into some potential how to help the SMEs to get money for that. So all these aspects, I think, might work to be more, let's say, more developed, and maybe that's some idea that could be more explored from other programs on that. So this is the dream, and the consequence of that is also in terms of the technical, let's say, in terms of tools. I think I agree on the in terms of heterogeneity. Although we are good, I think we might not cover enough sometimes capability depending on the market. If we are market oriented, we see on that. For instance, I was considering because I'm working into the car community. The car community is so big. I think everybody in the car. We have millions of cars. Cars soon will be connect car to car, and what are the big potential the car makers are trying to prevent that we use the data, but if we invent what we can do if we get the data from the cars, the car infrastructure, and all this kind of things. So I see in terms of heterogeneity, we might also look at also make liaison with other community which are not represented today by the FAR. And then we might add from IoT, and I read the report, and I agree also on some a good chapter about IoT and interoperability and challenge. In IoT, we are trying now to decouple the physical, let's say, layers to maybe the data. We have more and more data, but now we are facing what we call semantic interoperability. We need to have a meaning on the we need to have a flow of data, but the data can be useless if we can't treat the data properly, and we have to provide some test bed, specific test bed, and also documented into the report. That is more ground for working with different ontologies, different semantic, and also different maybe platform, because we see a lot of upcoming middleware and open platform and things like this. So the issue of processing the data through, let's say, interoperable, let's say, information is very important. So I think in the physical layers, I see the 3 levels: physical layers, middleware, and semantic, and the business side. I think is very important.
Thank you.
Topics, it's a bit more than a dream, it's a vision. Why not in 2 years from now on FIRE 50% of the activities, 50% of the users should be made by entrepreneurs, startups, SMEs, and consequently close to the market activities. So 2 years from now, end of 2015, something that can be measurable, reported on them, and of course acted starting from basically today. Let's see in 2015, just for the next work program, where is FIRE, or where will FIRE tools be on this kind of vision.
Yes, well, one of the dreams I always had was when I hear people speaking about SMG, they say, that's a US initiative. It has a high scientific and business impact. I want to do is that when we say, yeah, we are in the I'm in the FP7 FIRE project. They say, well, they recognize it at the same level and being attractive not just for Europeans, but also for the rest of the world and the researchers. Because I think this is how you measure your level of attractivity outside of your known boundaries. That's for what I call the way that scientists can also, and researchers can cross the boundaries in between Europe and go beyond. I think that's an important thing, because we have to consider that what we deploy is not going to be for Belgium, Luxembourg, and the Netherlands, is going to be worldwide. The second one that I have is, but that's a bit more related to the way that FIRE considers its own project, is about, since we know that we are going to have more and more diversity in the type of projects we are going to allow to run on these experimental facilities, how to enable that flexibility in terms of projects. If I have a project that wants to link together a new foundational concept that wants to go with an SME, and another one that says, yes, I know it's complex to be done, but so I need much more experiments. Would we have also that possibility of diversity of projects within FIRE by only Horizon 2020?
Thank you. A lot of interesting input for the work of the vision. Thank you very much. We are very late, but anyhow, I would like to see if we have one question from someone for anyone in the panel. Just one. This is like lottery. I give it to you.
So some areas that we asked you were looking at. One of the things I didn't hear anybody talk about today was standards. Right? We had a lot about collaboration and cooperation and federation. But in order to get all these different projects interoperate properly, we need in order to get some of these projects to interoperate properly, we need standards. We need to have some sort of consensus amongst projects of how they're going to exchange resource descriptions, APIs, and what have you, so that we can work together. Any of you guys thought how you would approach that?
Who wanted here? Okay.
You have to move
I think that Thales is one of the. In fact, in my presentation, there was a point that should appear about the standard interfaces. I haven't time to mention and elaborate on that. I think that the biggest effort that is being done at this moment in the FIRE community with regard to this probably is the BonFIRE project, in which is federating a large number of heterogeneous facilities led by IMANS, by the way, and led by IMANS. And the truth is that the effort there is exactly what you have mentioned. You have a consensus how to define resources, how to exchange and have common APIs, and it's absolutely necessary when you are dealing with so many different heterogeneity. So, however, on the other hand, because this is taking and is happening, so I think it's the only value. It's a great value if FIRE incorporates the standards, because if not, the others always come and say, okay, but this is so specific to your area, your solution, that I cannot apply in other areas. I think that many of the experimenters that are coming here are doing fundamental research in other areas. For instance, if someone is doing fundamental research in cloud computing, comes to here and says, okay, how to deal with the cloud? Oh, I'm doing implementing the OCCI API. Great, then I use that because I'm familiar with this. And if you say, no, it's something proprietary that you need to learn, they say no. So I think this is taken. However, in terms of the definition of the standards, I think that it is not the role of FIRE to do this. This is taking place, and in fact, the treatment of the timeline plus the engagement with the standardization bodies. We have here people with a huge experience on all this, members of ETSI, I don't know, Stefan has run projects on standardization and so on. And we know that this is not taking place during the experimentation. You can provide some feedback because you are using, you are adopting, you are testing. You can provide some feedback to the standardization bodies, but not in the definition. I don't know if it is.
Thank you.
Yeah, I was just thinking a little bit more towards how we standardize these experimental infrastructure. You don't want to prevent the researchers from doing research, but you want to provide test bed facilities that are standard across the
Is this live? Yeah. That's happening in Fed for Fire, as we just said, because there's the concept of an experimental control plane that makes it possible to draw on resources from one or more of the different partners in the infrastructure and to capture data in fairly standard formats. And that is certainly shared between the North American projects and the European projects. Whether it actually turns out to be all the same code is anybody's guess. But the people are working together using common concepts, and I think there's a high degree of interoperability between the different parts and packages.
Okay, thank you, Scott. I'm sorry to say that, but we need to okay, there is probably more.
Just one point.
One point, okay,
yeah,
fast.
European Commission, and that was a very good thing, has now its guideline on open data. But they left it open to all the member states to define the rules under which the data can be used, which is a nightmare because that's a legal thing, and you cannot find a technical solution to say, oh, this is France, here I can use those data under that form, and this is Belgium, and it's another one, and it's going to be, we're talking a lot of different languages, and yes, we can translate, and now we're going to talk, oh, different from every member state, you have to see what you can use with those data. So I just wanted to say this because there are people working for the Commission here.
That's the question I would have liked to ask also, and we'll just come to it in later sessions. What becomes of the data?
Okay, we stop there, and thank you, the panel, but we will now hand over to Viorel Peca to finalize this session, and I'm sure we will continue discussions in the coffee break after. Please.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. My name is Josep Peca. You've seen in the agenda what is not put there is my unit, which is the innovation unit. I'd like to not only say the conclusion, but say a few words about, to introduce myself. Before working for the Commission, I worked for quite some years as a tester, so definitely this is, while not as an experimenter, this is, let's say, a topic that is very, still very close to me. Started with the TDM switches, but then moved from access to edge to even core, and then worked as IPTV project managers before joining the Commission. Just for my curiosity, are there any entrepreneurs in the room? Well, yeah, I see. Well, quite only a few, if I may so, but still a bit more than what I expected. So it's good. I definitely would have wanted to see more, because I guess we are here in a discussion about the future, and well, I'm obviously skewed about innovation and entrepreneurship, so you know where I'm standing. But I hope that you know, part of the directions that let's say that you are exploring is this one, going more toward in this direction of having more entrepreneurs, startups, innovative SMEs as part of the users of the FIRE facility, because I really think that we have here, you know, a kind of Bentley, Maserati, Porsche at least, and it's used, but I think it can be used more. So that's a bit my vision. Even and I think the language, and I was listening a bit of the language that's here. Even the language, you know, really shows a bit of the current thinking. Experimenters. I mean, I understand the current situation, but I hope that if you want to move in the direction that I mentioned, you should whether change this one or complement it with something that is closer to the market. I mean, whether testers, whether users, whether whatever, I'm sure you can find a better one. But experimenters from the market, and really shows the philosophy behind it. If I, you know, just give some conclusion, but also a bit, if you want, my dream and vision there, I would say, well, as a first step, if you want to go into the direction, is develop and communicate a bold shared vision about FIRE plus, where innovation should be a central point of it. And a bit in the same time is work on what I call framework condition. Simplify access. open access, which I know that started to experiment, should be, especially for, again, for these closer to the market activities, should be the norm. Don't give money, just assure the right framework conditions, simplify access, open calls with cut-off dates. I mean, for sure you are aware about the direction in which H2020 is going, so you cannot ignore that. I mean, if the Commission is trying, and not just trying, but will use more and more open calls, for example, for the SME instrument, with cut-off dates, with short time to grant, for sure this should be the case for the future calls in the FIRE, and for simplifying and making it really, really easy for entrepreneurs to use the facilities. I think very well a few of the barriers, and then even concrete ideas on what to work were mentioned in the first or the second presentation. You know, security, interoperability, QoS, IPRs, of course, needs to be considered and really be how to say, the IPR should stay with the testers. And then, of course, communicate this, position this very clearly in the communities of startups and entrepreneurs. EBN is here, but the European Enterprise Network, really places where the entrepreneurs go. The web, I mean, we will, for the Commission, will have a half-day seminar there, and I already offered to pair the possibility to come there and present to the not only web entrepreneurs, because for sure more than web entrepreneurs are coming to the web in Paris in December, but I would say in a broader sense ICT entrepreneurs, to present and position the FIRE facility for the future. And then I would say the third step, I would say execute flawlessly. Once you put this one in code, just go for it every day, improve, and make it easy for entrepreneurs to really run their test, because of course, as an entrepreneur, as a startup, you at one moment you don't want to go with your solution just like that on the market. You want to test it in the as real, as close to the market, to the real environment conditions, and for that FIRE is just amazing. You really have it from the network to the application and so on and so on. So if you provide this, in a kind of flawless way, you will have a big success. So I definitely I'm optimistic about that, and like I talked with Per, I can definitely offer the support of the innovation unit on that, not only to our, let's say, dissemination activities. Myself and my colleagues are going to a lot of events where entrepreneurs, startups are presented, so for sure we can do that. Actually, I already started, already last week I presented 3 or 4 slides about FIRE on the, let's say, in London, of a corporate university venturing, and for sure we want to do this from now on, but also let's say we will have the SME instrument. I think definitely that can be, FIRE can be, collaborate and integrate with that part, and so on and so on. But I will stop here. I know the time is short, and I would like to thank you very much for taking the innovation and entrepreneurship dimension into account for your future plan. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I very much appreciated the last talk from Viorel, as well as the other seminar. We have been looking at the DARE program in Canada. Vanrie, that's an example of how large testbeds could be exploited for the needs of SMEs as well as SMEs. And that is something that we really want to continue. We have been starting already to look into these activities, and it seems to be very important. Okay, thank you very much for giving us more insight in the gaps between experimental demands and facilities. There is quite some work to do here. It also fits quite nicely with the opportunities in the next work program. I would propose that we have a break of 15 minutes. So we would start at 11:45.